You ever watch an anime and ask yourself, what am I looking at?
またまた不一致です。アルコールを飲んで寝てしまうという方もおられ
Even if that has happened to you before, you've probably never seen anything quite like this one.
Kuuchuu Buranko.
This psychedelic psychological program aired back in 2009 and was directed by the guy who directed Mononoke just a couple of years prior, which is why it looks so like that. The premise is simple. Tucked away in the back rooms of a bog-standard Tokyo hospital is the highly unusual psychiatrist, Dr. Ichiro Irabu. He's a fat man in a bear outfit who gets off to injections handled by his lovely assistant Mayumi.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
Also, these injections are allegedly just vitamin boosters, but I don't remember the Flintstone gummies doing this.
Wait. Hold on. Let's see where he goes with this.
Each episode follows the same pattern. There's a new patient who comes to see the highly renowned psychiatric specialist because they suffer from some kind of mental illness that keeps them from enjoying their everyday life. Sometimes it's OCD, sometimes it's a personality disorder, and sometimes it's a man with a permanent erection. This is not a joke, this is episode 2. If you couldn't already tell, this anime is weird. And it's pretty good too. Now, I'm sure like half of you are gonna be filtered by whatever it is I've chosen to show you right now. But if you stick with it, you'll be rewarded with a true one-of-a-kind show. I mean, what other anime has the announcer from Iron Chef as himself to periodically describe all the medical mumbo-jumbo when you least expect it? This video is sponsored by Sakuriko and Tokyo Treat. There's nothing more convenient than getting a box filled with a bunch of scrumptious snacks and tasty treats delivered right to your door. And there's nothing better than stuff from Japan. That's why Tokyo Treat is here to give you a taste of Japan without you having to actually go to Japan. A Tokyo Treat is a fun and exclusive Japanese snack box containing all different types of unique full-size snacks. What's in each box depends on the theme, which changes every month. This box is what's available for next month, so you're getting a little sneak peek for what's coming in October. The theme is Snacktastic Halloween. Things are getting spookier, while the treats are still as tasty as ever. We've got some Boo Ghost Gummies, Spooky Spicy Crackers, Halloween Choco Pie, and Halloween Angel Pie. And of course, some of those exclusive Japanese Kit Kats. Apple pie flavor this time, and who doesn't love some warm apple pie? Over here, we have a Halloween fruit juice potion. Very esoteric. I poured myself a glass and took some sips while I had some of the Japanese pudding mini pies. Those things were good, sweet and flaky with a rich custard center. There's enough to share, but what am I, a communist? Then I had the Danish. That's right, this Japanese box comes with a Danish, a real caramel delight. And this is all but a small example of what comes in the box. If you want to know the rest of the treats, then go get your own box, dude. But it's not just candy and snacks you get. There's also a booklet which has all the descriptions of the various food items, along with some cultural insights on stuff relating to the theme of the month. Since this one is Halloween themed, there's a lot of Halloween stuff, including some quality anime recommendations. So get a box for yourself, or for a loved one, or for all the kids who are gonna go out this Halloween for some trick-or-treating. You can sign up for a subscription by clicking the link in the description and using my code. This does help the channel out, and I wouldn't have taken the sponsorship if I didn't actually like these snack boxes. And now, back to the video. Now I know, I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but there's one other thing you should know about this show. The story takes place over 10 days, ending on Christmas. The Christmas thing is not the thing you need to know about. Although, I guess that does make this a Christmas anime. Not the best one, of course, but if you're looking for that, we did already cover it. Now, the thing you need to know about this show is that these 10 days play out in full in each episode. That means you'll frequently see characters from future cases pop up in earlier episodes. It's pretty cool to see the same situation from a different point of view, or find out how one case impacted another. One thing I need to make clear though is that this isn't really a psychological anime. It's more like an anime that uses psychology as a backdrop for comedy. This does not mean that you won't learn anything new about the human mind by listening to Dr. Irabu or the other talking head, but most of the circumstances and the conditions themselves are pretty silly. Again, there's a guy with a permanent erection. Wait a minute, that's a real thing. Never mind. The point I'm trying to make is that it's a comedy show first and foremost, not an artsy medical drama. Now that doesn't mean there isn't any meaning to anything. The animal heads seem self-explanatory if you pay attention, and personally I think the visuals look so weird because all the characters aren't quite right in the head. Lastly, Dr. Irabu has 3 forms which represent the id, ego, and superego. That's stuff straight from Sissy Boy Fraud, the father of gooning. I will say, initially the show is fairly creepy, at least it was for me. I mean, I was getting horror vibes from the good doctor and everything surrounding him. The live-action stroll to his lone office door, the fact that he's some weirdo in a bear outfit with stubble on it, apparently, and the mystery shots he gives to people. I mean, I might just be saying this because I really don't like shots. I have that one condition where I just don't want things inside of me. I think it's called being a heterosexual male. But I'm telling you, some of this stuff was kind of unsettling, and I was thinking there'd be this shift halfway through the show where it stops with the zany antics and turns into a creepypasta, but you know, that never happens because this isn't some horror anime, and frankly, I was a fool for ever expecting that. I'm not gonna fault the show for this one, that was all me. Dr. Irabu is not hiding some deep dark backstory, but maybe he should have been. One of my biggest complaints with this anime is that we don't get a lot of answers about who this weirdo doctor is. Maybe that's for the best. A non-answer means I get to make my own, but I'm still a little curious about how he went from a mellow little boy to an effeminate man to a fat furry. Now, if the show just wants me to draw my own conclusion, that's totally fine. And believe me, I'm drawing my own conclusion. But still, I would have liked to have gotten something more definitive. Another criticism I have, which is linked to the previous point, is that the show, well, it just sort of ends. The final episode isn't some grand finale, it's basically just another episode, which, I mean, it's not terrible, because the average episode of the show is pretty good, but if you're expecting something bigger or more questions to be answered before it's all said and done, then you'll be disappointed with how the curtains close. Now, I did just say that the average episode is pretty good, but there are a couple that they didn't really do too much for me. Some of the cases are more normal, even if the antics the characters get up to are anything but. However, there are certain cases that feel, I don't know, they're just not very interesting, or they're trying a little too hard to be comedic. Surprisingly, I am not talking about the erection episode. That one is probably my second favorite. If you're curious, my favorite episode is the second to last one. It's a case concerning a company owner who suffers from panic attacks. Don't ask me how accurate they are. I don't watch much Western animation intended for children anymore. Since each episode follows a new character, you might be worried that most of these characters aren't very memorable. For the most part, they're perfectly fine. Not too complex, but not overly gimmicky either. Some are certainly better than others, and I think that's why I like certain episodes way more than the rest. But the silver lining is that you don't have to be stuck with some guy you don't like, because chances are he's only going to be a cameo going forward. But the same thing applies to the ones that you do like, which is kind of unfortunate. But again, I think that most of these guys are fine, so it's not really that big of a deal. A bigger problem might be that the show is on the formulaic side of things, so once you get used to the madness on screen, you can pretty accurately predict how future episodes will proceed. But they are aware of this, so they throw a couple curveballs every so often to keep things interesting. Plus, each character does add some flavor to the formula on their own, so even if you do know what'll happen next, it'll still be enjoyable to watch it unfold. But there are a couple of characters that show up in every episode, so let's talk about them. Dr. Irabu and Mayumi, and this guy, but he doesn't really count. I don't know anyone who's going to complain about Mayumi. I mean, I guess some people may not be happy to see a 3D Foid in their 2D show, but you know what? She probably doesn't want to see you either. Initially, I thought she was just going to be a fan service character, but surprisingly, she does get some development over the course of the show. Also, if you're wondering, she's a live-action actress and a model and recently divorced. Just kidding, divorce isn't real. Dr. Irabu is a little more polarizing. He can be pretty annoying, especially because his voice is so high-pitched and energetic. He's pretty much always shouting. However, I did mention before that he's got several forms, and the other two are much easier to tolerate. When he's just a wee lad, he's far more calm and mellow. And when he's a lankoid, he's sort of got the high-pitched voice still, but it's one that's far less grating on the ears. And now to talk about the soundtrack. Unlike Irabu, it is very easy on the ears. A lot of the tracks are on the funky side of things, but others are a bit more relaxed and meditative. A real hodgepodge of sound, very fitting for a show that looks like this. Also, the opening and the ending, they both go exceedingly hard. The one song sets you up for the strange series of scenes that is this show, while the other closes each case with a chef's kiss. Kuuchuu Buranko is not a show for everyone. It's very weird and the comedy might not be very funny to you. But I think it's a show that's worth taking a chance on, especially if you're okay with something different. Tell me if you watched it and tell me what to watch next. There are plenty of things in the pipeline already, so be patient. But I'm telling you, I will get to it eventually. Or not. Some of you guys have terrible taste, to be honest. Not you, of course, not you. I'm talking about the other guy. Anyway, until next time, Ave Maria, Deus Volt, and a big thank you to all the cultured.